the Resilient and Gender Inclusive Enterprise Systems project in Sri Lanka, launched in 2020 by Oxfam in Sri Lanka. Then it was continued by DevPro from 2022 July and mainly aimed to enhance women's economic inclusion and strengthen MSME ecosystems in Sri Lanka. The project mainly focused on inclusive business models, market system development and climate resilience across key value chains including cinnamon, pepper in Sabaragamua province, fruits and vegetables in northern province and also handloom in eastern province. After that, RIES project expanded its outreach to Nuwara district and Uva province, targeting dairy, cinnamon, cocoa and also seed potatoes. Today we hope to discuss about the dairy value chain under RIES project. We know dairy sector in Sri Lanka plays a major role in rural livelihoods, nutrition and national food security. However, growth has been limited by several factors including low productivity, poor animal health, inadequate veterinary coverage. Today we invited Dr. Kulanayagam Kuleswarakumar to the program because as part of the RIES project, all the initiatives related to the dairy industry carried out under his supervision. So, first of all, welcome to the program, Doctor. Doctor, can you give a brief introduction about the present status of the dairy industry in Sri Lanka?
Thank you, Dilini. I take this opportunity to thank you for the introduction, and I want to tell something about the dairy industry as the whole. So, if we want to take dairy industry, we have to go into the self-sufficiency of milk and milk production in Sri Lanka. As of now, the island producers, dairy producers are producing 40% of the need of Sri Lanka, and overwhelmingly it is being imported. The other part of 60% of the dairy is taken from Australia and New Zealand, and key players in the industries are Milko as the main partner in the milk procurement, National Livestock Development Board as the producer of breeder cows, and Lanka Milk Food as the one of the main producers of milk and distributors. They are producing Ambevala milk and distributing Ambevala milk and Luxspray in Sri Lanka. Along with them, there are big time partners in the dairy industry like Kotmale Kagals, Palwatha Dairy, Cello Dairy, and few other people who are contributing immensely to the dairy industry in Sri Lanka. And if we convert that 40% into US dollars, 2.19 billion in 2025 is produced in Sri Lanka, and the growth rate is actually 7.8. We are expecting the growth rate up to 7.8 in 2029. So, Milko state-owned faced heavy losses recently, but returned to normalcy and with the profitability in late 24 with the installment of the present government, plans to be stabilized rather than privatized under the current government. National Livestock Development Board, state livestock body managing 31 farms and about 15,000 hectares of land, plans to modernize and enhance crossbreeding efforts are underway. And when we take leading publicly listed dairy processors with brands such as Ambevala and Luxspray, Ambevala farm now produces more than 50,000 liters of milk daily, and that also benefits from the policies of the government favoring fresh milk over powder. The Kodmalakagals, Palvatta Dairy and Chelo Dairy are also leading players in the dairy sector, significantly contributing to and reshaping the industry's landscape in Sri Lanka. Powdered milk remains dominant due to cost and availability. Fresh milk is costlier and cafe adoption is limited largely to upscale markets. Rising production cost is another trend. Feed prices, transport infrastructure and powder cost affect smallholder profit margins. Quality and safety, food safety practices among producers and consumers remain moderately low, posing a big challenge to the dairy industry. And with regard to the production, genetics and breeding continued. Crossbreeding with Frisian and Jersey breeds is improving yields, but structural policy support has lagged in the industry. That is the overview of dairy industry in Sri Lanka.
Okay, doctor. In terms of the economy, how does this dairy sector affect to the Sri Lanka's development?
So, it's a good question. Actually, the Sri Lanka's dairy sector, though modest in nature, overall size plays a vital role in multiple dimensions of the country's economic development. One thing is economic contribution and GDP impact. The livestock subsector makes up about 1.2% of Sri Lanka's GDP, with dairy being the largest component. Domestic milk production meets roughly 40%, as I told earlier, of the demand, meaning the country remains a significant importer of dairy, which drives up foreign exchange cost. Second one, actually in view of the question you asked, rural livelihood and smallholder income. So, most milk is produced by smallholder farms having 2 to 5 cows, with approximately 300,000 farmers and about 2 million dependents involved in along with the dairy value chain. Dairy farming acts as a living bank for rural communities, providing financial resilience, especially during economic stress. By supporting these farmers, the sector helps reduce rural poverty and fosters equitable economic growth that equates all the strata of the social setup together. And another important part the dairy sector plays is nutrition and food security. Dairy is a key source of high quality protein, calcium, vitamins and minerals, crucial to public health and addressing nutritional deficiencies. Boosting local milk production improves food security, especially for vulnerable groups of people, and reduces dependency on imported milk powder. Fourth one, it's also a very important thing, import substitution and forex savings. Sri Lanka spends approximately $300 million annually on importing dairy products, mainly milk powder. So, increasing local production represents a significant foreign exchange savings. Reducing import helps stabilize the economy, especially during times of forex scarcity. If there is a forex scarcity, they can reduce the importation of milk powder. That stabilizes the economy, and but there will be a scarcity of milk powder in Sri Lanka. Dilini, if I take all these things what I have told in summary, we can tell 1.2 of the national GDP is contributed by the dairy. The rural economy through the dairy industry supports 300 farmers and 2 million dependents. And additionally it enhances protein and micronutrient intake of the poor people and all across the country, saves US $300 million annually on dairy import. And employment side, if we want to tell, it generates jobs across the supply chain and strengthens rural livelihoods and economic stability in the rural sector especially.
Yes, doctor. The experiences gained through the implementation of development project in Sri Lanka by DevPro, what are the main challenges in dairy industry?
So, it's also a very good question posed by you. The RIES project was initiated with the co-objective of identifying and strengthening the weaker links in the dairy value chain in Sri Lanka. The project aims to build a more resilient, inclusive and commercially viable dairy sector by directly addressing key bottlenecks affecting smallholder dairy farmers who contribute approximately 78% of the country's total milk production. So, there are key weaker links identified, and I will tell you how DevPro through various projects address these issues. One thing is shortage of technical staff in animal production and health services, that is the technical department responsible for delivering vital extension services such as animal health, breeding, training and advisory support are significantly understaffed. This limits their ability to effectively serve smallholder dairy farmers across the country. Other one, lack of replacement stock of breedable dairy cows. That is the huge problem faced by the farmers who need that after culling, or if an entry is coming to the dairy sector, they are facing this problem. So, there is an acute shortage of high quality breedable dairy cows needed to replace culled animals and supply new entrants into dairy farming. This restricts genetic improvement and overall productivity in the sector. Next is inadequate feed and poor feed management. High yielding dairy cows often underperform due to insufficient and poor quality feed. The issues range from a lack of nutritious fodder to overpriced concentrates in the market. Next problem what the farmers or dairy sector as the whole is facing is limited farmer knowledge and commercial orientation. Many smallholder farmers continue to rely on traditional practices, lacking the knowledge and skills necessary to transition into commercial dairy farming. This limits efficiency, productivity and their profitability. Another problem is weak and non-transparent market system. What they produce, they have to get a return from the market. The current milk marketing system suffers from a lack of transparency in collection and payment processes. The absence of standardized procurement guidelines fosters corrupt practices, eroding farmer trust and reducing income security. Next problem what we identify is poor awareness of cow comfort and animal welfare. All this time this has been neglected by the Sri Lankan farmers. They didn't know anything about that actually. Now they have become aware about the problem. A significant number of farmers lack understanding of animal welfare practices. Poor cow comfort reduces resilience and productivity, further constraining the potential of dairy operations.
Doctor, based on your experience, what actions should be prioritized to support the growth and sustainability of the dairy industry?
Yeah, actually I will mix my views and action taken by the DevPro through various activities and different projects to answer this question. Actually, we found a big gap in the capacity of the farmers and even the officers who are delivering the services to the farmers. So, in that regard, capacity building of dairy farmers, DevPro organized technical training sessions facilitated by the technical department staff. The most capable officers were selected and provided mobility to conduct effective on-site training for dairy farmers. Then we should recommend conduct regular workshops on animal health, breeding and disease management. Develop farmer-friendly guidelines in local languages and promote community animal health workers. Actually, the reach will be modest if we put everything in English language, but the local languages in Sinhala and Tamil medium should be made available because the farmers are from the lower strata of the society. Increased training programs for veterinarians and paravets. Paravets actually that is in the pipeline of the policy planners. So, at the moment veterinarians and livestock development instructors are there to give training. So, in future paravets can be taken. Introduce continuous professional development and incentives to retain talent in rural areas. Rural area lacks professional people, they are leaving the country. So, incentives to retain their talent is very important. Enhance breeding programs, introduce and promote high yielding dairy breeds suitable for the local climate through artificial insemination and selective breeding. So, the policies are there in the papers to select the breeds for each climatic condition, but that is limited only to the papers, that is not implemented heavily in the field. Promote smallholder farm supports, provide better access to quality feed, veterinary services and credit facilities to small scale farmers who make up the majority of the dairy producers in Sri Lanka. Encourage farmer cooperatives, strengthen farmer organizations to improve collective bargaining, knowledge sharing and economies of scale. And major thing what we did in DevPro under different projects, mobile veterinary extension services. Minimal private sector involvement results in over reliance on limited state resources. As a solution to this, we found mobile veterinary extension service is an effective solution. Veterinary extension services were brought directly to the farm gate, particularly in remote rural and estate areas. These services enabled technical teams to diagnose and resolve challenges related to animal health, breeding and administrative practices. Mobile veterinary units and telemedicines. We want to promote telemedicine because there is a very big dearth of veterinary surgeons in Sri Lanka. Deploy more mobile vet units equipped with diagnostics and cold chains. Deploy more mobile vet units equipped with diagnostics and cold chains. Promote tele-veterinary services via smartphones, especially in remote areas. That may be a problem if the dairy farmers should have smartphones. Those who have smartphones can use this. Other one actually digitization and data management is also a part that is promoted by the present government. Develop a centralized veterinary database for real-time tracking of disease outbreaks and vaccination coverage. That is lacking in the country, especially the technical department lacks a database, and if there is any outbreak of any disease, the handling of the outbreak is very crucial. Use mobile apps for reporting and feedback by farmers. Strengthen vaccination campaigns and deworming programs. Promote health planning and routine checkups. Other one, field studies and policy recommendations. Field activities were conducted on privately owned breeder farms, followed by analytical studies. The resulting findings and recommendations were compiled into comprehensive guidelines, which were submitted to the relevant ministry and the department for further action. And another activity that was taken by the projects, promotion of drought resilient dairy farming. It was promoted through the intervention of Uva University in response to climate challenges, particularly in dry zones of Sri Lanka. DevPro introduced drought resilient dairy practices. This included the supply of hardy fodder varieties such as Pakchom, Red Napier, CO4 and CO5, training on cost effective silage production, low cost silage production, and distribution of educational handbooks on suitable farming techniques. Then next one is advocacy for ethical milk marketing, that is undergoing now. An advocacy initiative was launched to develop a code of conduct for raw milk production and marketing. This goal is to foster an ethical and standardized milk marketing system in Sri Lanka. Once validated, this code of conduct will be formally handed over to the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock.
Doctor, what final message would you like to leave those who are shaping its future, especially policymakers and youngers?
Yeah, it's a very pertinent question you are posing. Yes. The dairy industry is more than just a source of food. It's a cornerstone of rural economy, a provider of essential nutrition, as I told earlier, and a key player in sustainable agriculture. As we look forward the future, it's crucial that we recognize the role dairy plays in food security, job creation, environmental stewardship, and community well-being. And when we want to give our recommendation, revise policies to allow more private participation in veterinary services. This is all state-owned veterinary offices are playing their role in Sri Lanka. Our advice is to revise the policy and go for privatization. Establish a quality assurance framework for veterinary drugs and services. To the younger generation in Sri Lanka, you are the future innovators, leaders and advocates. Your energy, ideas and passion are needed to modernize the dairy industry. Integrate sustainable practices and use technology to create a more efficient, ethical and environmentally friendly system. Whether through science, entrepreneurship, communication or policy making, your voice matters to us and this sector. To policy makers, we would recommend support for the dairy industry is an investment in public health, rural development and smart climate agriculture. By crafting evidence-based policy, offering incentives for sustainability and fostering education and innovation, you can help ensure the dairy sector thrives while meeting modern expectations and global challenges. Encourage curiosity, invest in education, support farmers, and together let's build a dairy industry that feeds the world responsibly, sustainably and inconclusively. Encourage curiosity, invest in education, support farmers, and together let's build a dairy industry that feeds the world responsibly, sustainably, and inclusively. Thank you very much.
That brings us to the end of today's program. Thank you, Doctor, for sharing your knowledge, experience, and time with us and your insight into the dairy industry. Your work with RIES project have been truly valuable, and I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot from this conversation. Thank you all.